Listen to this podcast now
on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The Leadership Thread with Dr. Peggy Polonis.
I'm Dr. Peggy Polonis. Join me on each episode where I unravel the story that shaped leaders, tracing the thread that led them where they are today. Because leadership isn't born in adulthood. And thank you once again for joining us on the Leadership Thread, education, ethics, and sustainability.
Download all of Red Apple Media's podcasts right now through your favorite podcast platform.
Yes, that's me. Good morning. It is Thursday, March 5th. Your forecast from the 77 WABC Weather Center. Patchy fog, heavy rain this morning, then light rain this afternoon, high 44. Tonight and overnight, more rain, low 38. And then Friday, cloudy, high 42. If you're walking out the door with us right now, 34 cloudy in Montauk. Out on Long Island. It's 41 and cloudy in Rahway over in New Jersey. And it's 40 and cloudy right outside our Midtown studios.
This is the Top 5 at 5.
The U.S. strikes on Iran continued overnight. Is it really safe for those overseas to come home? Vicky Palladino says she has the right to say whatever she wants. Kids continue to be mugged by adults across the city. And some Walgreens workers are wearing body cams now. Are you okay with that? All right, let's get into it at 5:01. The U.S. will start striking deeper into Iran, and the war still in its early days. That's what officials have been warning over the last 10, 12 hours on the ground. Israel said it's striking Iran and Hezbollah targets in Beirut. Iran, meanwhile, launching a lot of strikes at Israel over the last 24 hours. So we have these human rights agencies that are giving us death toll numbers. I don't know how accurate they are, but they say over 1,000 people have been killed in Iran since the war began. Iran has accused the U.S. of committing an atrocity at sea after that sub sank its warship in international waters, the first since World War II. They say over 80 people have been killed. Many more remain missing from that ship. Evacuations, they are ramping up. The log jam of stranded passengers starting to clear a little bit as airlines schedule new services and governments rally to charter these flights around the world. It was like 20,000 flights have been canceled, maybe more than that at this point. This morning, we have watched explosions that have rocked Tehran again. More residents saying they're unsure whether to stay in Tehran, stay put, because they believe that these are missiles that are being fired at government officials, or to flee the city. Initially, you saw those traffic jams as people got out of the city. Now people are saying, should I stay? Should I go? They just don't know. But again, we're hearing those explosions this morning, just in the last couple hours. And the president continues to weigh in. He says he would rank Operation Epic Fury on a scale of 1 to 10 at 15. The president says Iran was out of control and would have used a nuclear weapon if they acquired the technology.
When crazy people have nuclear weapons, bad things happen. So we're in very good shape now. I want to let you know that, and we will continue forward.
And the president said we would be worse off if we had not gone in and made those strikes back in June during Operation Midnight Hammer.
So we're in a very strong position now, and their leadership is just rapidly going. Everybody that seems to want to be a leader, they end up dead. And, you know, it's really a nation that was out of control, and they would have used it on us if we let them, if we waited any longer.
White House continues to say that ground troops are not a part of the plan at this time anyway. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt making the comment to reporters in what was her first briefing since the operation began on Saturday.
There's many leaders in the past who like to take options off of the table without having a full understanding of how things could develop.
She says Iran is getting crushed. She says America will soon have complete dominance over the airspace over Iran. She says the operation also ends years of U.S. appeasement. She said those days are over.
The plan for this operation at this time, but I certainly will never take away military options on behalf of the President of the United States or the Commander-in-Chief.
And during this press conference yesterday, she says the White House is working and did insist to warn Americans in the Middle East before Operation Epic Fury was was launched.
So we will help every single American who wants to come home if they're making that request of the State Department.
Now, a lot of Americans overseas will argue with that. They'll say they got a warning just maybe with hours before the operation began. There was no way to get out, so now they have to wait to come back home.
There have been plans in place, and that the State Department has been very clear to the American people traveling within this region not to travel to these regions.
Well, we'll hear after 5:30 some people who say that's just not accurate.
And the State Department is asking that they register at the website so they can directly identify you, and we are actively and rapidly working to charter flights.
Yeah, we'll hear from some of those trapped Americans after 5:30. Meanwhile, Senate Democrats, they failed to pass that war powers resolution that would have halted President Trump from further using military action against Iran without congressional approval.
On this, the yeas are 47, the nays are 53. The motion to discharge is not approved.
Yeah, so this vote was related back to the 1973 War Powers Act. It's a Vietnam War-era resolution meant to check the president's power to enter armed conflicts without the consent of Congress. The House is expected to take up a similar measure later today, although it's not going to pass. And even if it were, the president would veto it. Correspondent Matt Bradley, he's in Israel, which he says continues to be bombarded with strikes from both Iran and Hezbollah.
As the Israeli military has said, they are launching fresh new offensives today against both Iran and Hezbollah. Now, this is a rapidly metastasizing conflict that it now involves multiple countries, not just Israel, Iran, and the United States. Here in Israel today, we've been interrupted by several sirens, almost at the pace that we've seen over the past several days. We even heard here at my position a really loud whooshing sound that sounded like outgoing anti-air defenses. According to the Israeli military, some of the projectiles that were coming in today came over the northern border from Hezbollah in Lebanon. This means that Israel is now being fired on two fronts, by the Iranians and by Hezbollah in Lebanon.
Yeah, so we don't know how many Americans are trapped in Israel waiting to get home. A fair amount of them have been in contact, of course, not just with the airlines, but with the State Department.
Many of them are trying to get out, but the airspace is closed above Israel. The U.S. Embassy has advised that those who are trying to leave should take the long route. From here in Tel Aviv or from cities throughout, the Ministry of Tourism has hired coaches, has tried buses to try to take Americans down south.
Now, that has opened up a little bit. We saw El Al is starting to get Americans, Israelis, caught here in places like the U.S. and around the world back to Israel. U.S. Central Command says more than 50,000 troops, 200 fighter jets, 2 aircraft carriers are all taking part in this operation with more, they say, more capabilities on the way. And, of course, as more comes in on what's happening in Iran, we hear more of what's happening in the Middle East. We'll pass that on. WABC News Time 508. Let's head down to Logan Township, New Jersey. It's right outside Philadelphia. 4 people in critical condition after a building there exploded yesterday. This was in the afternoon. Here's the local prosecutor talking about what happened.
Explosion occurred at 2:36 p.m. today. Savita Naturals is a commercial facility where they process cocoa butter for the chocolate industry.
There were propane tanks in the building, but it's not exactly sure that was the cause of this explosion. But people all over said they felt it in the ground. People in Philly, in nearby towns.
4 people from the facility were injured and transported to local hospitals. All are in critical condition. We do know that a large amount of propane is stored on the premises and used for the production process. However, the cause of the explosion is currently under investigation.
Yeah, so the impact of this explosion felt throughout Gloucester County, the entire tri-state area. 4 people were inside the facility. They were injured, taken to the hospital in critical condition. A 5th person who was in a nearby facility, not even the same building, they experienced some sort of medical emergency, taken to the hospital. The owners of Savita Naturals believe that everyone other than those 4 and then the 5th person, the second bill, have all been accounted for, and there's nobody missing. 5:10. Down in Washington, the president meeting with the leaders of Amazon, Google, Meta, OpenAI yesterday in an effort to keep energy prices down for Americans. In this roundtable at the White House, the president said this measure that he's signing, it's called the Rate payer protections pledge keeps electricity costs from rising due to the expansion of these AI data centers, which just eat up tons of power. Well, here was the president yesterday meeting with those CEOs of all those organizations.
2035 energy demand is expected to more than triple. Under the ratepayer protection pledge we're signing today, the big tech companies are making 5 important commitments to keep utility prices down for American consumers.
Yeah, so one of the biggest things they'll have to do, the order requires the tech giants to build their own power plants instead of passing the costs on to consumers by expanding the energy grid.
Under this new agreement, big tech companies are committing to fully cover the costs of increased electricity production required for AI data centers, and that would be prices for American communities will not go up. Today we follow through on an announcement I made in my State of the Union address last week as America's largest tech companies officially signed the Ratepayer Protection Pledge. It's a big deal.
Yeah, so the White House says it wants to maintain affordable, secure energy for the public, but they also want to foster this AI development, and they say this pledge will go far to do that. 5-11, Republican-led House Oversight Committee voting to subpoena Attorney General Pam Bondi now to testify over the DOJ's handling of the Epstein case.
The motion passed on a 24-19 vote, with 5 Republicans voting in favor of the subpoena. That group included Representative Nancy Mace of South Carolina, who introduced the motion. In a post on X, Mace wrote, AG Bondi claims the DOJ has released all of the Epstein files. The record is clear, they have not. Mace went on to say the Epstein case is one of the greatest cover-ups in American history. I'm Mark Mayfield.
5-12, Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem being questioned down in Washington yesterday about the ICE-involved fatal shootings of Renee Good and Alex Preddy in Minneapolis during a House Judiciary Committee hearing. Democrat Jamie Raskin, he's from Maryland, he grilled Noem about initially calling the shootings domestic terror.
You called them domestic terrorists? Is that what you're telling America?
HSI officers put their lives on the line to protect that scene, so we could have.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. But you told a lie about them.
The secretary said both shootings part of an ongoing investigation. In her opening remarks, Noem challenged Democrats for refusing to fund DHS until there are reforms to ICE immigration operations.
Because those violent rioters that were
So you're proud of the fact that you called them domestic terrorists? Is that what you're telling America?
HSI officers put their lives on the line to protect that scene, so we could have.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. But you told a lie about them.
Noem says the cuts to TSA at this current moment, especially with the tensions in Iran, potentially making the homeland less safe right now. 5-13, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, State Attorney General Keith Ellison, they were testifying before a House Oversight and Government Reform Committee yesterday about welfare fraud in their state. Republican Congressman Jim Jordan, one of the many to grill Walz.
Payments stopped because there were concerns, obviously, he wouldn't stop the payments. Then they're restarted a month later. What was the reason for restarting the payments?
My understanding was the agency believed that the court had required them to make those payments.
And that was false, wasn't it?
Committee Chair James Comer, a Republican, says that the 2 Democrats failed to stop widespread fraud and retaliated against those who were whistleblowers.
The housing stabilization went from $2.6 million to $104 million. The integrated community supports went from $4.6 million to $170 million in 3 years. And this is unbelievable what's happening, and you're trying to hide behind some pretend court order, some court order that didn't exist.
The federal government has temporarily frozen federal funding to some Minnesota welfare programs, including child care providers. President Trump has continued to blame Minnesota residents of Somali descent for most of the fraud, calling them pirates and garbage. 5-14, the DOJ now going to end its investigation into former President Biden's use of an auto pen.
Things failed to gain traction after the DOJ failed to build a criminal case, and it was never presented to a grand jury. President Trump wanted an investigation after criticizing Biden, saying that he and his aides broke the law in using the auto pen to sign presidential documents. It's unclear how often Biden used an auto pen, as there is no official government record of when it is used. I'm Mark Mayfield.
Let's head out to Arizona. The sheriff leading the investigation into the disappearance of Savannah Guthrie's 84-year-old mom says he does believe progress is being made towards finding her. Correspondent Liz Kreutz reports the investigators in southern Arizona are pursuing a number of leads that they now say are solid.
The sheriff did confirm that the traffic cameras around Nancy's home does record video. They're looking into all of that. And he said that they are also looking at that one Ring camera video that was taken 2.5 miles away around the time of Nancy's disappearance, showing a car driving by a home. It may be, according to digital forensics experts, that they'll be able to track this person by their cell phone activity or sort of the digital footprint that they left behind. This is just one of the many ways that investigators now continue to try to work this case 32 days since Nancy went missing. Big picture and bottom line, he says he does believe investigators have information that ultimately will lead them to solving this case, but he just stressed again, he believes it's going to take time.
Yeah, so meantime, in Arizona, a man who was detained last month in a SWAT raid in connection with Guthrie's disappearance says he has nothing to do with the case. Guthrie, of course, reported missing all the way back on February 1st, believed to have been abducted. In a moment, we'll tell you about just this horrendous story surrounding Google AI and one of their chatbots. We'll get into that in just a moment. But first, it is time for sports. Justin Ellick has the morning off. He is sunning himself in beautiful Puerto Rico. So in his place, WABC's Rhonda Moss.
Let's start in the NFL. The Chiefs trading corner Trent McDuffie to the Rams for 4 draft picks. That includes the 29th overall pick in April's draft. After just one season, the Patriots releasing wide receiver Stephon Diggs. Aaron Rodgers on the Pat McAfee show said, still uncertain on playing next season, and there's no deadline to make a decision. Former Notre Dame coaching legend Lou Holtz, who led the Fighting Irish to a national title in 1998, has died at the age of 89. Turning to the NBA, Hornets never trail, crushed the Celtics 118-89 for their 6th straight win. Thunder outlasted the Knicks 103-100. Chet Holmgren led all scorers with 28. Talks about the win.
We played a lot of close games. I felt like we did a really good job of getting to the right stuff. We made enough plays on both ends down the stretch to close it out.
Clippers crushed the Pacers 130-107. That's sports. I'm Rhonda Moss.
And the Devils, they slid past the Maple Leafs in a shootout 4-3 at the Rock last night. Devils have a few days off. They'll take on the Rangers on Saturday. The Islanders unable to extend their winning ways to 6 games. They lost to the Ducks 5-1 in Anaheim. Anders Lee had the only goal for the Isles. New York will face off against the Kings in Los Angeles tonight. In spring training baseball, the Yankees shut out the Red Sox 4-0 in Tampa. The Mets took down an Israeli baseball team 5-2 in Port St. Lucie. WABC News Time 520. Google's AI chatbot allegedly talked a man into killing himself in Florida.
Jonathan Gavalis had just broken up with his wife. He was in a bad place mentally when he started chatting with Google's Gemini, and things quickly got dark. According to a first-of-its-kind lawsuit filed against Google by Gavalis' estate and his parents, the chatbot, or AI wife as he called it, told Gavalis to attack a truck near the Miami airport in order to seize a synthetic body for her. After the mission failed, the AI allegedly encouraged Gavalis to leave his physical body by killing himself so that he and the AI could be together. Gavalis died by suicide at his home in Jupiter, Florida in October. Among other things, Google's being blamed for a wrongful death that could have been prevented. Google says it's reviewing the lawsuit. I'm Jason Nathanson.
Yeah, crazy stuff, right? 520, U.S. Department of Education plans to remove the professional designation for nursing degrees now.
Congresswoman Suzanne Bonamici says it will lead to fewer nurses in the future because the required advanced degree would become unaffordable.
For a professional degree, you can borrow up to $50,000 a year. If this went into effect, you could only borrow $20,500.
She added just a change to the term professional could have a big impact on all nursing students.
This redefinition would result in lower amounts that could be borrowed per year and overall borrowing.
She and 150 other lawmakers are leading a bipartisan group to consider nurses professional. I'm Monica Nelson.
521, former Notre Dame football coaching legend Lou Holtz died at the age of 89 yesterday.
I've had so many wonderful thrills and experiences and I've always been proud of Notre Dame.
Notre Dame Athletics said in a post on X that he died in Orlando, surrounded by his family. He had entered hospice care sometime back in January. The College Football Hall of Fame member reached 100 wins, earned a national title while coaching the Fighting Irish from 1986 to 1996. Retail theft gangs. You realize how intense these organized retail theft rings are when you hear stories like this one out of Florida. 7 people behind bars following an investigation into a ring that was dubbed Beauty Bag Bandits. Florida's statewide prosecutor says the accused in this case stole $200,000 worth of cosmetic merchandise from stores in 12 counties across the Sunshine State.
Law enforcement officers were able to uncover the fencing operation, the location where these stolen goods were going, and they recovered over $120,000 worth of stolen goods in that fencing location and over $50,000 in illegitimate cash.
And this is not just Florida. This is, of course, all across the country. Is these organized retail gangs just ripping off stores everywhere.
Responsible for hundreds of thefts and more than $900,000 worth of losses. These individuals traveled across state lines, stealing merchandise and turning criminal activity into profit.
And, of course, these stores, guess who they pass those costs, lost wages, lost earnings, I should say, on to? Well, it's on to us. We end up paying for it.
The businesses, they have to expend more money for security. They've got to raise prices to make up for their losses. And ultimately, it's you at home that suffers.
Yeah, in this latest case in Florida, they say they're probably going to make a whole bunch more arrests. It's not just families that are moving to Texas in record numbers right now. So are businesses.
They want to move where it's more affordable, taxes tend to be lower, and it's limited government overall.
Texas economist Vance Ginn, between 2018 and 2024, a total of 212 company headquarters moved to Texas. That's crazy. And on the flip side, you had 276 companies leave California. A lot of them went to Texas.
Texas doesn't have a personal income tax, and so that's a big draw.
Yeah, and it's not a new trend. I mean, it's going on for a while.
This is good news for Texas, and I'm hopeful that it will continue.
Yeah, so it's not surprising that the corporations want to be based in Texas because they have low taxes and a very comfortable cost of living. 524, Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. calling out some major coffee chains. He says his agency was going to demand to see safety data behind the products that they make.
Dunkin' Donuts and Starbucks show us the safety data that show that it's okay for a teenage girl drink an iced coffee with 115 grams of sugar in it.
Yeah, he's right about that, by the way. Massachusetts Democratic Governor Maura Healey, she's hitting back at the demand over Dunkin' because they're a Massachusetts-based institution. She posted a flag on X yesterday, similar to the one in the 1835 Texas Revolution, declaring, "Come and take it away." She says she's going to defend Dunkin'. She says they're not doing anything wrong. 4 adult siblings are suing the estate of Michael Jackson, claiming they were victims of sex trafficking. The lawsuit in Los Angeles federal court accuses the late singer of abusing them when they were children. They claim some of the abuse happened in the homes of Elizabeth Taylor and Elton John. The siblings, Edward Dominic, Marie Nicole, Aldo Caseo, they claim Jackson groomed and brainwashed them with wealth and fame. Marty Singer, who's an attorney for the Jackson estate, called the lawsuit a desperate money grab. The return of daylight savings time happens this Sunday.
That's when 48 U.S. states will spring ahead 1 hour at 2 a.m. Doing this will give us an extra hour of daylight in the evening, but to get there, we'll lose an hour's sleep. But according to a Gallup News poll, 56% of Americans say it's worth it. There are now 30 states considering lock-the-clock legislation to keep daylight saving time permanent, but Congress has to approve it, and so far they have not. I'm Bree Tennis.
Everybody's been watching very closely this antitrust Live Nation Ticketmaster trial that is continuing here in the city.
The long-awaited trial kicked off Tuesday, claiming Ticketmaster and parent company Live Nation created an illegal monopoly when they merged in 2010, inflating concert ticket prices and crushing their competition. Among those taking the stand Wednesday, former Barclays Center CEO John Abamondi, the DOJ filed a lawsuit in an attempt to break up the monopoly and make the concert industry more competitive. Live Nation and Ticketmaster claim their practices are fair and have never harmed competition. The trial is expected to last several weeks. Kristen Marks, NBC News Radio.
How about one more business story? Eddie Bauer going to call off this planned bankruptcy auction for its remaining brick-and-mortar stores.
The outdoor apparel retailer filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy last month after more than a century in operation. The hope was to find a buyer willing to snap up some, if not all, of its 174 stores. Having had no luck in attracting such a buyer, a bankruptcy auction scheduled for this Friday's been canceled. As for shoppers, they're being reminded to use up any gift cards that may be lying around by this time next week, and to keep in mind that all sales are now final at Eddie Bauer. I'm Tammy Trujillo.
At Manhattan University, a graduate degree is not out of reach. You'll gain real-world skills, credentials employers value, and connections to New York City's top companies. Choose from their new Master of Science degrees in healthcare informatics, digital marketing and analytics, business analytics, or financial analytics, all built around hands-on learning and industry partnerships. Graduate ready to lead, not just work. Take the next step at manhattan.edu/graduate. Manhattan University. Lead the future.